everyone, and welcome back to another one of these screencasts, and this one is on circles and parts of a circle. It's definitely the first one you want to watch before you move on to other things. Very, very simple, but it will take work, and the reason why it takes work is because none of these things come naturally. You just need to write revision cards on each one of these and make sure that you go over them and over them and over them until it just becomes second knowledge. So parts of a circle, get out your pens and paper and write these down because you're going to have to match these up for the quiz and for the questions coming up. So the first bit is the radius. Hopefully you might know what the radius is and what the diameter is. The circumference, again, hopefully so far you're 3 from 3. The chord, all of a sudden we're bringing in some new terminology for things that maybe you don't know. An arc. You may not know what an arc is, but you may know what an arc is. That means that's really confusing, but you may actually have an understanding of what an arc is. You might not have linked it up with a circle before, but I'm sure that you may have. Tangent, sector, and segment. So there are a few there that you should already know, but there are some that you won't know. So make sure you write all of those down. That'll definitely help you to then link up what they look like from each parts of the circle. So let's go through them now. So this is how many there are. So we've got 8 different names that we need to memorize for our GCSE exams. The first one up is the radius. So if you already know what the radius is, you can bang that down. But this is the radius here. It's the distance between the middle of the circle and the outside of the circle. The next one, diameter. So again, hopefully you already know this one, so write it down, but if you don't, that's the distance the whole way across, but it goes through the middle of the circle, and you'll see some other lines coming up here shortly, and they do go all the way across, but they don't go through the middle, so therefore they're not the diameter, so just be careful of that. The circumference, hopefully you know this one, the distance around the outside of the shape. That is the circumference. The chord. Now, this is the chord. I like to remember this one like playing guitar. And in your guitar, you have a hole. Well, this is an acoustic guitar. You have a hole in the middle. You have a whole load of strings that run over that hole. It's like playing on the guitar, therefore a chord. An arc. So just think about what an arc is, and that is, it is a part of the circumference of the circle. So you obviously the circumference is up here, okay? And an arc is just part of that. Next up, tangent. So that is a line that touches the outside of that line. Now there's lots of rules that work with all these parts, and what you'll do is you'll find that this links with circle theorems, which a lot of people will move on to. If you're in the foundation maths, you don't need to worry about that. The next one is a sector. Okay, it's like a piece of pizza or pie. It's a sector. And the next one is a segment. Okay, so we would imagine a sector of the pie, which we would traditionally cut into the middle, wouldn't we, and cut ourselves a slice. A segment is like a chord, but it's that bit that comes away from that as well. Okay. So those are all the parts of the circle. What I would really highly recommend you do is to pause the video now, draw all of those out, link them all up, go over them numerous times, because the next part is the quiz. It's a very, very quick screencast. The next one is the quiz, which is just going to ask you to label these up. So pause the video now, do some work on them, and then come back and see if you can remember all the names and what they are. Okay, so hopefully you had time for that. It's now time for the quiz. So all you've got to do is put a name to each of these circles. What do they represent? What do they represent? Then come back and see if you've got them all right. All right, so here we go. Here goes the answers. First up, we have the sector. We have a nice sector of pie. Now, often remember, we may get these mixed up with a segment, but it's just sheer graph that will help us. The next one is, hopefully you knew this one, was the diameter. Then we had a tangent, then the circumference, then a chord. I didn't make that very noticeable, but it is a chord. Next one is an arc, Then we've got our segment, and last but not least, we have our radius. So I hope you did well on those. If you didn't do well, you definitely need to go back and do some more work. And this is something that you're going to need to brush up on before an exam, that is for sure. Definitely write a revision card on all of these, or just take this question. So if I go back, that could be one side of your revision card, and then on the other side you could have that, and you would very, very quickly remember the names to each of the circles. But until next time, it's been a pleasure helping you with your maths again today. Hopefully you're finding things easier and easier with every video you watch.